Shelter I'm going to show you right now is called a debris hut. Debris huts are great shelters, especially if you can't get a fire going. It's rather cold. They're really good for insulating body heat, just using your own body heat to warm that shelter up. So I'm going to show you one method of building this debris hut. Like anything, there's many ways to skin the cat. Today I'm going to show you one that I like to do, a technique I use quite often. First key piece to a debris shelter is the ridgepole. Now you can do it several ways. You can build an A-frame and then put the ridgepole centered so you have a triangle, and basically you'll have 3 points like a tripod, but the ridgepole extends out and you're going to put a whole bunch of little ribs alongside that ridgepole. A technique I like to use is find a tree about this size with this thickness and chop it over so it stays partially attached to the stump and makes a natural ridgepole. I find them a little bit easier to work with, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on this one right now. I'm only going to cut this tree enough so that it actually falls over and stays attached to this stump. I'm cutting this very gingerly. I could chop this thing down very quickly, but I need it to fall properly so I can utilize it. Alright, sometimes certain trees will stay attached and others will do just like this one and actually came completely apart, but that's okay. I'm going to chop this stump into a bit of a V and go ahead and tie that in with some parachute cord. But this ridgepole is going to be the basis for where we're going to put the other ribs out to the left and right. Now the idea of this shelter is to be low to the ground so you can get up underneath there and just stay warm. It's particularly a warmth shelter. I'm going to save these boughs to go ahead and put them on as part of the coverings later on, so I'm not going to waste any of this material. Alright, this over there. Clear out underneath here, which is going to be the sleeping area. Leave the grass here because that's a good insulator. Alright, now I'm going to fix the ridgepole so make sure it sits in there real well. Alright, what I've created is a bit of a V-notch here in the top of the stump to rest the pole on there. I'm going to pull some parachute cord out of my bag and go ahead and get to cracking and tying that down. Alright, I got a little groove on the stump now so that this isn't going to move anywhere. Now I'm going to use some of this parachute cord just to secure this so I know that's not going to go anywhere. Make sure that's in there nice and tight into that groove. All right. Let's go this way. All right. Perfect. Okay, perfect. That's in place now. Now all I gotta do is put some ribs in here and we'll start covering this thing in debris. Plenty of deadfall out here, so gathering up some of it, I'm gonna use that. It's less energy on me and it's just gonna work just fine for what I need to do. I'll put this one in right here. Put this one in right here. All right, so now we got that apex going. If I wanted to, I could have taken the ridge pole and put it up in here and tied all these together. But since I'm already working with this already in the ground stump, I'm going to go ahead and just keep working these ribs all the way down. Perfect. We'll go get some more and we'll keep this going. Alright. As you can see, she's coming along pretty good. Getting all our ribs in here. And we'll be ready to put some pine needles on there. I'm closing the back end here because I want to make sure that is all encased. All right, that's the last rib. As you can see, we have our ridge pole running down the center, and we have all these little ribs off to the side. Next thing I'm going to do is get these little pine saplings down, run them crossways to create sort of a grid pattern. And we're going to throw pine needles on top of it and be good to go. All right. Got these nice young pine saplings. I'm going to start laying them in there to create kind of a crossing pattern. I'm leaving the greens on because they'll just help waterproof and insulate this all the more. But what these are going to do is create that grid pattern that I need to go ahead and put the pine needles on, hold them basically in place. There you go. Right. All right. That should do it. I've got these little young pine saplings going crossways across the ribs. And now all I'm going to do is throw pine needles on top of it. They'll insulate all this in. This is going to create a couple things. It's going to make like hands, fingers, webbing, to hold the pine needles in place, help insulate, and also waterproof. Pine needle time. All right. Now what I'm doing is putting pine needles over this structure. This is going to enclose it, so it's going to maintain all my body heat in there. The more pine needles I put on there, the warmer I'm going to be. It's also going to help waterproof this thing. All right. We got half the debris shelter finished. This side's covered in pine needles. We gotta get the other side, but I'm gonna wait. I wanna show you the inside first so you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to insulation and all that. So come on over here. This debris hut's perfect. It's big enough for me, long enough for me to stretch out, get a good night's sleep. Got a lot of pine needles in here. I'll bring some more in here for bedding. Get me up off the ground because the ground will sap the heat out of your body if you're trying to stay warm. You wanna get in here and take a look. Now you can see over here, got a lot of holes because we haven't even put a single pine needle over here, but if it wasn't going to rain or wasn't too cold, this would be a nice shady shelter. On this side, I see a few holes right here that I'll have to get some more pine needles to finish up, but overall, it's pretty good shape. So I've got an opening here. I'm going to use this as my main doorway, and I'm going to start getting more pine boughs like this one and kind of layer them into each other and make a wall over here. I could run sticks if I wanted, but these are fine to keep the heat in, keep the wind out. I could build a grid pattern green sapling door here, weave the green saplings together, make a grid pattern, and then I could use 550 cord and tie it into this pole and actually have a swinging door, be real high speed. When it comes to survival, you want to think outside the box, use your imagination, and be creative. So let's get the rest of these pine needles up, and this thing will be good to go. Shelter hack, once I enclose this entire shelter in, I can actually light a candle in here and let it run while it's all closed up. It'll literally warm this place up another 5 or 10 degrees, no lie. So candles are a really cool hack when you're enclosing yourself in a shelter and you're trying to stay warm. So there you have it. This is a debris shelter, really good. If you can't get a fire going, you're trying to conserve body heat, stay warm, close it up. It'll keep you warm, it'll be watertight, and you'll be all right. So if you're ever in a pinch, you need a quick shelter, a debris hut, especially if you can't get a fire going, it's cold out and you need to stay warm. Also, if the bad guys are chasing you, it's a good hide site. So debris shelter, there you have it.